No press briefings, no public debates, no accountability. Behind closed doors, unexpected power players are being summoned into a process they were never supposed to touch. Names that should never be linked to Gaza's future are suddenly appearing on the same invitation list. This is not a peace effort. This is not diplomacy. This is a silent power grab unfolding in real time. Control over reconstruction, control over money, control over who rules after the dust settles. All of it is being negotiated outside public view, while the world argues about yesterday's headlines. A new authority structure is already taking shape, and once it's finalized, there's no rewind button, no vote, no public consent, no second chance. By the time this breaks into the open, it won't be framed as a choice. It will be presented as reality, and the people most affected by it will be the last to know. It starts with a name that was never supposed to appear anywhere near Gaza's future, Vladimir Putin. According to official statements released Monday, Putin has received a formal invitation to join a proposed international authority called the Board of Peace, an initiative reportedly chaired by Donald Trump. The disclosure didn't come from Washington, it came from Moscow. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov confirmed the invitation was delivered through diplomatic channels, saying Russia is now reviewing the proposal while waiting for additional clarification from the U.S. side. The White House? Completely silent. Then the story widened fast. Within hours, Belarus confirmed that its president, Alexander Lukashenko, had also received an invitation. In a carefully crafted statement, the Belarusian Foreign Ministry said the United States had identified Belarus as a country willing to take responsibility in shaping long-term peace and reconstruction. Lukashenko, Putin's closest ally and one of Europe's most sanctioned leaders, has almost never been included in Western-led diplomatic frameworks. His sudden appearance on this list changes everything. Because once these names are in the room, this stops looking like peace talks and starts looking like a power realignment. At the center of it all is the proposed Board of Peace, described as a cornerstone of a United Nations-backed American-led plan to demilitarize and rebuild Gaza after nearly 2 years of war between Israel and the Hamas. On paper, the board would coordinate reconstruction, manage massive funding flows, oversee international involvement. In reality, it would sit above the process, deciding who controls Gaza's recovery, who gets paid, and who is permanently shut out, and that's where the alarm bells start ringing. Because if this board locks in quietly, behind closed doors, there may be no public debate left to have. By the time this surfaces fully, it won't arrive as breaking news. It will arrive as a finished structure, and the world will be told it's already too late to change it. It came from Helen McEntee, Ireland's Foreign Affairs Minister, and her message was unmistakable. The proposed authority shaping Gaza's future, she warned, is drifting far beyond the Gaza peace plan itself. In a rare and unusually blunt rebuke, McEntee drew a hard line. Only the United Nations is legally mandated to uphold international peace and security, not a temporary board, not a hand-picked committee, not an ad hoc structure assembled behind closed doors. The implication was chilling. When authority shifts away from established multilateral frameworks, legitimacy fractures, and once that fracture happens, reconstruction stops being humanitarian and starts becoming geopolitical control. Meanwhile, Donald Trump hasn't bothered to soften the optics. He's already branded the proposed committee in classic Trump fashion as the greatest and most prestigious board ever assembled. But behind the bravado, something far more consequential is taking shape. A new global power bloc formed outside normal diplomatic channels, unaccountable to voters, and moving faster than public oversight can react. And the guest list explains why alarms are sounding. According to available confirmations, invitations have already gone out to Tony Blair legacy Western power, Mark Carney financial authority at the highest level, Marco Rubio direct American state power. This isn't a peace committee, it's a command structure. And once these people are seated, the real decisions won't be debated publicly, they'll be implemented. No vote, no transparency, no reversal. By the time the world fully understands what this board is, it won't be a proposal anymore. It will be policy, it will be power, and it will already be locked in. A senior Israeli official confirmed that Israel has been invited as a founding member state, with the invitation addressed either directly to Benjamin Netanyahu or to a designated representative. That detail matters. because it signals Israel's role wouldn't be symbolic. It would be structural, baked into the framework itself. And what's most striking isn't who has been invited, it's how this is being done. There has been no master list, no formal rollout, no unified announcement from Washington. Instead, the picture is emerging in fragments through leaks, selective confirmations, and leaders choosing to go public on their own terms. And the list keeps growing. Among those who have publicly acknowledged receiving invitations, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Javier Milei, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Viktor Orban, Narendra Modi, several leaders have gone even further, releasing copies of their invitation letters. And a pattern jumps out immediately. The letters are personally signed by Donald Trump, but participation is framed not as a personal honor, it's framed as state-level membership. Countries aren't being asked to attend. They aren't being asked to observe. They're being asked to align. And that's the real story. This isn't a committee forming in public view. It's a structure assembling in advance, quietly deciding who gets a seat, who gets sidelined, and who will shape Gaza's future before the rest of the world. Even realizes the rules have changed. Buried beneath the diplomatic language is a detail that has foreign ministries on edge. Access comes with a price tag, and once that price is paid, walking away may no longer be an option. According to a U.S. official familiar with the proposal, countries can secure a permanent seat on the proposed Board of Peace by contributing $1 billion, not over time, not symbolically. Up front, countries unwilling or unable to meet that threshold wouldn't be excluded entirely. Instead, they would be placed on rotating 3-year terms, creating 2 distinct tiers of influence inside the same governing body. One tier decides. The other advises temporarily. Officials insist the money would be used exclusively for reconstruction of the Gaza Strip. They emphasize that the board would avoid what they describe as the excesses of traditional international institutions, no bloated salaries, no lifetime appointments, no sprawling bureaucracy. But that reassurance hasn't calmed the unease, because the moment seats are tied to billion-dollar contributions, reconstruction stops being purely humanitarian and becomes transactional. And the question now circulating through diplomatic channels isn't how Gaza will be rebuilt, it's who gets to buy permanence in deciding how it happens. That question becomes explosive if Vladimir Putin accepts his invitation. Such a move would mark a dramatic return to top-tier global diplomacy for a leader largely frozen out since ordering the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. For Moscow, this wouldn't be symbolism. It would be strategic rehabilitation achieved not through Europe, but through Gaza. Russia's role in the Israel-Hamas war has been limited but never absent. In the early weeks of the conflict, Moscow offered itself as a mediator, pointing to its maintained relationships with both Israel and Hamas. Unlike most Western governments, Russia does not officially designate Hamas as a terrorist organization, a distinction that has kept diplomatic channels open when others shut theirs completely. That openness became impossible to ignore when senior Hamas officials traveled to Moscow just weeks after the October 7 attacks, despite reports that at least 20 Russian citizens were killed or taken hostage. And in 2024, when deeply divided Palestinian factions sought neutral ground for internal talks, they chose Moscow, not Geneva, not Cairo, not Washington. All of this adds weight to what's happening now. If billion-dollar contributions unlock permanent authority, and if Moscow is willing to pay, then Gaza becomes more than a reconstruction project. It becomes a gateway back into global power, and once that gateway opens, it won't close quietly, and the signal keeps building. Russian state media now reports that Mahmoud Abbas is scheduled to visit Russia this week. On its own, the trip might appear routine. Taken alongside everything else, it doesn't. Put together the invitations, the billion-dollar seat structure, the outreach to leaders long excluded from Western frameworks, a clearer picture emerges. Gaza may be becoming Moscow's pathway back into the center of global diplomacy, and the proposed Board of Peace could be the mechanism that makes that return formal, not through Europe, not through Ukraine negotiations, but through reconstruction, funding, and post-war governance. If that's the case, then what's happening now isn't just about rebuilding Gaza. It's about who gets to define the rules of global legitimacy going forward and whether power is shifting away from established multilateral institutions toward pay-to-enter structures assembled in parallel. These decisions aren't being debated publicly yet, but they're being made, and once they harden into policy, they won't arrive as breaking news, they'll arrive as the new reality everyone is expected to accept. If you want clear, fact-based geopolitical analysis without noise or exaggeration, stay with us and follow for deeper global breakdowns as this story develops.